York's very own muscle building coaches, Anthony Bevilacqua and Pete Kacharian, proudly present to you New York Muscle Radio.
What's up, guys? New York Muscle Radio, episode number 155. If you're a new listener, you have just found the best fitness podcast network ever. It's your host, Anthony Bevilacqua, alongside my co-host, Big Pete Kacharian. What's up there, big guy? How's it hanging?
Man, I'm excited to be back home, relaxing in my own environment, in my own element, and just back to the daily grind, I guess, man. It's Monday, right after the Arnold Classic weekend, and everything's back to normal, full swing, man.
Yeah, we had a weird weekend, man. I was a little too close to you all weekend.
That's true, actually. So, yeah, I'm also excited that I'm not, sleeping head to foot next to you right now.
Head to foot. At one point in the middle of the night, me and Pete shared a bed. At one point in the middle of the night, this big guy was cuddled up on me, literally cuddled up on me. I look over and there's Pete resting on my chest.
I wanted something nice to cuddle with, and you just happened to be close enough, so you were the object of choice that night.
No, the funniest thing had to be, I think it was the first night that we were there, when I in my sleep I rolled over. I mean, guys, I'm married, so I rolled over and I put my hand, doof, and I just feel big chest. I'm like, Pete, you got to move, man.
That might have been the largest chest you felt in a long time, right?
Muscular chest, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, man.
I was like, dude, you got to move, man.
Yeah, actually, yeah, a guy woke me up in the middle of the night. I got woken up. Pete, you got to move. I'm like, dude, I'm laying on my back on the edge of the bed. I really can't go anywhere. Because for anybody who doesn't know, we had to share a full-size bed, and we're two fairly large.
It was a queen-size bed.
I don't think that was queen. Was that queen? There's no way that was queen.
Man. That wasn't full-size, man. Full-size, you really would have been on top
I guess
of me.
I'm just not used to being in bed with another guy. So
yeah,
it took up a lot more space than if I was laying in bed next to a female. A queen-size bed felt like a full or a twin almost. But, yeah, how did that come about anyway? Like, why were we in a room with just full-size beds or queens? Couldn't get anything bigger? Is that what it was?
No, we actually had a suite, and we had other people staying with us, so it was 5 guys in a room. So there was 2 beds and 1 pull-out couch, and someone was on the pull-out couch, and it was 2 guys per bed.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to do something a little bit different next year because
I want to rent the house next year, man.
Yeah, we got a little too close to each other. I think we need our own beds next time.
Yeah, but that had to be the funniest thing the first night when I just reached over my sleep and I just felt peck. I was like, what the? And then I was like, oh, Pete, move over.
It didn't bother me, man. You could have did it and I wouldn't even have noticed. So
the funny thing was then, but the last night you were sleeping on top of me. So it was like the first night was so weird, but the last night you were like my wife.
Yeah, I guess you sleep next to somebody long enough, eventually that'll happen, right?
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, that was fun. Yeah, the Arnold Weekend is always a good time.
Yeah, it every year the expo's getting bigger. We're meeting more and more people. There's just more and more going on. It's evolving so much every year. So it's different every time we go, but it's always enjoyable. This year, we spent most of our time actually at the expo, and we didn't really do too much else this year. Last year we did a lot of other things. This year we spent most of our time at the expo. We were there Friday, Saturday, and Sunday for most of the expo, and met a lot of people, hung out by the powerlifting events as well. So we didn't really do too much with bodybuilding. We didn't really go too much. We didn't go to watch the actual bodybuilding competition, but we were at the expo mostly, and then we saw some of the powerlifting. So it's a fun weekend.
Wait, man, let's come back to the Arnold Classic because I wanted to tell you. I mean, you kind of know, but I wanted to talk to you about this. So it kind of got we're always testing things here on New York Muscle Radio because we always like to make sure our advice is sound, and we're always experimenting because that's how you learn. You have to experiment with things. So one of the common things, and as most of you guys listening to this, my testosterone, it's not low, but it's average. It's average. And, for muscle building purposes, average is not good. So what you try to do in that sense, you try to optimize anything you can in order to bring it to above normal. Because obviously I want to be above normal because I want to grow more than normal. So one of the biggest myths out there, and I guess is it a myth?
I wouldn't say. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it could be depending the way you look at it. Everyone has a different opinion on it, but I guess it's more of a misconception. Yeah, it could be bro science. Yeah, I would call it that. One
of the, I guess, bro science misconceptions out there is that if you want to increase your testosterone, you have to have your fat really high, and it has to come from different sources: monounsaturated fat, saturated fat, and that these are going to be the things that actually increase your testosterone. So I did an experiment on myself. I've been eating 100 grams of fat every day, and I've been making sure it comes from only monounsaturated, saturated fat, and things like that. I've still been flexible with my dieting, but I've been eating more of those foods than I ever did before. Like I never really ate a lot of avocado. And so when I actually got my blood work done initially, this was kind of pointed out to me that I should be eating more of those things. So I was like, I really don't eat those things. Maybe that's the missing link here. So I went on this quest to do it, and I followed this up with 2 rounds of blood work. Not 1, but 2. And boom, I totally debunked that. My testosterone levels didn't really change by increasing my fat to 100 grams a day with different sources of fat. Nothing happened out of it. Actually, my LDL went up. So go figure. My cholesterol's in the good range, but it's actually been tipping on the higher end since I've done that.
Yeah, and this is one of those things where, like I said, it's kind of a misconception because it's not necessarily false. The idea behind it is solid. The idea behind it is solid, but it's based on a lot of different circumstances. In your situation, I really don't think it. I would have, if you asked me if you thought that would help you, I would have said honestly, most likely not. But that idea behind having a high enough fat intake and the right fat sources will help you produce the right amount of testosterone is definitely beneficial if you're somebody who doesn't consume enough fat. Then taking in extra fat, the right amount of fats, like somebody who doesn't eat or diet properly. If they have a deficiency in testosterone, but they also don't consume enough fat, they don't consume the proper fats. Now, if they're eating 20 grams of fat a day and they're a grown man and it's not even a good source of fat, if they take their fats up 50, 60, 75 grams, whatever it is, to a normal healthy range, they eat the right amount of, polyunsaturated fats, monounsaturated fats, saturated fats, all at the right ratio. That's definitely going to help improve your testosterone, especially in somebody who's deficient and their diet is in a deficiency as well. You, on the other hand, yes, your testosterone levels, they were in the normal range, but on the lower end, and you were already consuming a very well-balanced diet for the most part. It could have been better, yes. So by you taking it up a notch and trying to maximize it, I really don't see it having too much of a benefit for you. And, the blood work kind of proved that there's a little bit of a point of diminishing returns with that. You kind of already covered the necessities with your nutrition for testosterone production.
Yeah, well, one of the things that you'll read out there, if you look this up and you actually start Googling, is that 100 grams of fat seems to be that quote-unquote magical number where you need to, have enough fat to stimulate testosterone and, raise that level up. I mean, I've read so many other things that said things like that, and clearly that wasn't the case for me. Again, like you said, is that different for everybody? Yes, but again, it just goes to show you that flexible dieting, as long as everything is within range, like you said, like you're not consuming 20 grams of fat, you're fine. Your source, I still don't even think that the sources matter, man.
Yeah, there's a point of diminishing returns is really the biggest thing. Once you hit,
dude, because hold on, not to cut you off, but before even this experiment, I never really had avocado. Occasionally, it wasn't like I had it daily.
I don't know. I rarely eat avocado.
I hardly have it. Yeah. I hardly have it. The only thing that I have,
it's not bad, but yeah, I understand. Yeah, it's one of those.
The only thing that I have consistently is saturated fat, and that's just because I eat a lot of animal products. That's the only thing that I have that would quote unquote raise my testosterone.
Right. Well, the biggest thing is there's a point of diminishing returns, and once pretty much the minimal effective dose of everything is reached, additional beyond that is not going to super compensate. So if you're optimizing your testosterone levels for your body on 50, 60, whatever it is, 70 grams of fat, that's where you optimize it, or you bring it up to the average level where it should be. Going 100, 120, 130, 200 grams, whatever these crazy numbers you want to throw out there, is not going to double it. It's not going to improve it beyond that. Once you hit that threshold, there's pretty much a point of diminishing returns. Now, that's especially true to a natural as well, too. A lot of times people, when they get crazy with these macronutrients, micronutrients, and super high doses, there's other things in the equation. But for a natural person just trying to max out their hormone levels, it's fairly easy to hit, the minimum effective dose and just kind of maximize it from there.
Yeah, so we just really debunked that myth. I was the guinea pig here, and nothing was lost, nothing was gained. But again, I could just goes back to show you that flexible dieting, focusing on your macros is really the overall picture for everything. Finding out those numbers that work for you, calories, protein, carbs, fats, that's it. That's all you need. That's it for everything.
Yeah, just the takeaway is, when you try to maximize something, you're gonna hit the optimal range, somewhere in a normal amount. When I say a normal amount, I mean you don't have to go super high on anything to reach a maximal range for your body. So the idea behind more is better definitely doesn't apply with nutrition. Once you hit a certain amount of protein to maximize protein synthesis, doubling it's not going to equate to double the muscle mass. Doubling your fat intake is not going to equate to double, your testosterone and your hormone production. So once you hit that ideal number, you're pretty much set.
But then it always comes back to my original problem, which is always, I feel like, something from the beginning when I first started this. Because I always wanted to gain weight, gain muscle. So I have a fast metabolism also. So I'm not blessed with a slow metabolism, unfortunately. So my metabolism is really fast. So I burn through substrates really, really fast. I burn through carbs, I burn through fat, rather quickly. So I need a high level of all these things in order to put weight on. So the problem always stems down to me is like, well, okay, I always hit the minimum effective that I need, which is just fine. But it's like I always have to just keep bumping everything up. And I get to that point where I can have 100 grams of fat, 600 carbs, and I'm not really gaining any weight. It's nuts.
Right. Well, yeah, and that's a problem that most people run into, especially on an extended off season. And I run into that myself, although I run into that much quicker than you do. You can go way higher with carbs. You can go way higher with fat before you kind of hit the point where you do start gaining weight. But even in my case, I have that issue, and I have to work around that. And clients that we have that have that issue too, we have to work around that as well. And really the only way to fix that, or to kind of, work with it and work around it, is the goal is always to stay lean, and you can get to the point where in your off season, if you're sitting at about 200 pounds, you're pushing 600 grams of carbs, 100 grams of fat, and you're not gaining weight. Well, if we take a step back and we diet you down a little bit, we get about 10, 15 pounds of fat off of you. That might get you really lean, but you'll also be so much more sensitive to insulin. You'll be so much more sensitive to excess calories that now you can gain weight on lower calories. And then hopefully the weight that you do gain is muscle, provided you're training right and you're increasing calories at the appropriate rate. So the reality of it is, once you get close to that genetic potential and you're just going after a few pounds of muscle every year, you got to spend time where you got to keep cutting it back so that you can start, moving forward again. You got to take a couple steps back so you can keep moving forward. So you got to go through those dieting phases. You got to get lean, you got to stay lean, and then increase the calories.
Yeah, one of my, I guess, the downfalls to this, the whole thing with, having a fast metabolism is that I want to keep putting on weight. Like, I haven't dieted for 2 years. I realized that the other day. 2 years it's been since I dieted down. And for overall health purposes, like, yes, I want to gain muscle, I want to be bigger, of course. But for overall health purposes, it's not good to be in a caloric surplus that long. I mean, I might have done like a small mini cut, maybe like 3-4 weeks. But that's still, the majority of the 2 years I was gaining weight, But I was getting to the point also, I was staying relatively lean for a long time. It's not like I was gaining fat. Like, even right now, like, I'm not, a whale. I'm not as lean as I want to be, but I'm not huge, you know what I mean? So it's like I'm still at that point where I can't, like, I could keep going with the bulk and really push it, but what am I going to get out of it? Especially for overall health purposes. It's like, it's good to diet every once in a while. Like, kind of you said, take those steps back in order to come forward. So I would never recommend staying. It's good to be in an off season for an extended period of time like that, because you will gain more muscle, but you get, like you said, the point of diminishing returns for everything.
Yeah, and people tend to go overboard, especially in our sport. They always think more is better. So bulking, if I'm going to gain muscle, stay in a bulk for a very long time, stay in a very large bulk for a long time. And, you're going to see less results that way, just simply because you're taking your body out of an anabolic environment by getting yourself fatter, by getting your calories so high that you do become insulin resistant. Now it's just, you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot, and you'll actually benefit from taking that step back, getting leaner, cutting the calories a little bit, so now your body will actually handle them much better. You
haven't dieted down either. It's probably been about 2 years for you too.
Yeah, I've done a few mini cuts, but I haven't done any type of real dieting phase since the last time you were dieting as well. And I'm sitting about right now, maybe like 10 to 15 pounds heavier than I was last time I dieted down. So I haven't put on a significant amount of weight where I'm like at that point where I would need to cut back down, but I also haven't pushed the bulk. I've kind of been hovering around maintenance for the last 2 years because, my goals are not to go through any type of big transformations from month to month, year to year right now. I'm pretty much just refining my physique. So I told you I was experimenting a little bit lately with...
Pete, when you're trying to refine your physique, that means you actually have to do calves.
I know I've been slacking on those too, man. And this summer's coming soon, so the shorts are going to come out. But yeah, that is something I have to focus on. But yeah, I mean, my goal as far as that is, I'm not trying to go through a long bulking phase and a long cutting phase or anything like that, because that would be more of the goal if you're trying to really add a bunch of muscle to your frame. And right now, like I said, I'm kind of just trying to refine it, get a little bit bigger, get a little bit leaner slowly over time. So the approach I'm taking is a little bit different than somebody who's maybe a competitor and has a 2-year off season, let's say, and we got to spend the 2 years getting them as muscular as possible. They're going to have to go a little more aggressive with the bulking phases, maybe do some more aggressive cutting phases in between. But overall, the goal is to really make big changes in a shorter amount of time. Right now, I'm focused on the long haul for now, and that's why I've been hovering more around maintenance, just because it keeps my body in a good, happy medium, which I think is ideal for a long period of time. That's what I did for a while
too. Yeah, that's exactly what I did too. I think one of the downfalls too with not that it was a mistake or anything. I mean, I had no choice. I'm competing in powerlifting. I'm at my weight class, and trying to just reach the top of my weight class and kind of sit there and maintain, which I've done for a long time because I'm trying to get stronger. I'm not trying to get weaker. And if I diet down, and there's a chance that I can get a little bit weaker and lose not significant strength, because I've done it before, but still, obviously you feel better when you're eating more, when you want to gain strength. So I think one of the things that I'm going to do after I diet for a little bit, I'm not going to diet for an extended period of time because I do have a meet coming up. I don't want to be weak, so it's going to be, again, a little, I guess, short little mini cut, maybe 6 to 8 weeks. But one of the things I'm going to add in is definitely cardio. I made a post on this on Instagram. I'm at AB Fitness. If those of you want to follow me, I made a post about this. I haven't done cardio in probably 2 years either. And for overall health, I think you have to have that in there. There has to be a balance. Sometimes I catch myself doing something and I feel like, and it's not good. Like I was doing 9 reps on squats the other day. I mean, that's brutal. That's not easy. 9 reps at a heavy weight is not easy at all. But I felt so out of shape. Like endurance-wise, I'm like, oh, man, I really got to do cardio.
Yeah.
And it's bad when you want to do cardio.
Yeah, and you know what it is too? When you train so often with such high volume, train 6 days a week, squat, bench, deadlift, do all your heavy compounds, that's very, very draining, and it becomes very hard to kind of fit cardio in on top of that with your schedule because cardio is time consuming, and if you even want to do HIIT, which is much less time consuming, that's very taxing on the body as well, and you're already providing a lot of taxing stimulus from all that weight training that you don't really want to throw too much else in there. So cardio actually gets a little more complicated to throw into the mix, but there really is no replacement for actual cardio if your goal is to increase your cardiovascular output, to improve that. So you do want...
Not really a goal for most people, though. Anybody listening to this is trying to get in shape. You look bigger, stronger, leaner, But
yeah, and in most cases, if that's your goal, you can get there without cardio. I've done contest preps where I haven't even touched cardio and I've gotten in contest shape. It's not a necessity for getting bigger. It's not a necessity for getting leaner. It's not a necessity for getting stronger. But for overall health purposes, yeah, you really can't substitute it with weight training, although you're still working your cardio doing weight training for sure, especially if you're doing stuff like you said, like sets of 9, 12 reps on those big compound movements. You're getting cardio in there, but if you're trying to maximize your cardio, then you're going to have to throw it in there.
We're going to have to start pushing the sled soon, man.
I have a love-hate relationship with the sled because I do actually really enjoy doing the sled, but I don't like to do the sled when I do anything else. I'd rather go in the gym and just do sled pushes one day.
So that's the same day you should do calves.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea. I should do sled pushes and calves.
Yeah, do it on a Sunday, man.
Not a bad idea. Sled pushes are brutal. They're good. You feel great after you do them, but you also feel dead because they're brutal. But it's definitely my favorite. That's my favorite form of high intensity cardio. What about you?
I like the rope, man. There's nothing beats the rope.
I like the rope, but I don't feel I just feel more productive doing the sled. I get more satisfaction out of moving 10 plates on the sled versus me just swinging the ropes. I mean, if your goal is to get your heart rate up, they're both going to do the exact same thing, which is what you're trying to do, especially with HIIT cardio. But there's pros and cons to both of them, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Do you want to get the results you've always dreamed of? Do you want coaches that genuinely care, are professional, and get back to you in a timely manner? Do you want to be stronger, healthier, and look better naked? Then let me tell you, New York Muscle Radio is definitely your answer. Since working with them, I can hardly believe the results.
They coached me through a post-contest reverse diet and all the way through to an off-season strength program.
These two fitness geniuses have pushed me outside of my comfort zone, and in the process, I have been able to make big jumps on all of my major lifts.
In 14 weeks, I added 100 pounds to my powerlifting total and smashed my first meet.
Since working with them, I've added 55 pounds to my squat, 50 pounds to my deadlift, and 20 pounds to my bench press.
And in 12 weeks, I dropped over 10 pounds of body fat and added over 20 pounds to all my lifts.
I have never had as amazing of glutes as I have training with them. So I can say, no matter what your goals are, you're guaranteed to be stronger, healthier, and let's face it, better looking if Pete and Anthony are your coaches.
So if you are tuning in to listen and learn from the huge array of knowledge these two have, or if you want to hire them as your coaches, you will not be disappointed.
New York Muscle Radio is the best in the business.
You heard it from our New York Muscle Radio clients. Do you want to join our team and reach your fitness goals? Visit NewYorkMuscleRadio.com for all our coaching programs.
All right, man, let's move on to the quote of the day. I'm excited for this one. You have it queued up.
Okay, let me pull this up. Give me 1 second.
I'm always excited for the clip of the day, man. We always pick out good clips. But today's clip, I guess I'll tell you guys, it's from I was so excited when Pete pulled this up because this was the clip from when Franco Columbo, Arnold's best friend, strongman, whatever. This is actually, and I've looked for this scene for years. I never found it.
This isn't the clip though.
What do you mean?
You decided to go with the interview with him talking about Arnold in the old days.
Oh, it wasn't the same clip. I thought it was in the same clip.
No. Which one do you want to play?
Well, no, play that one of the Franco and Arnold. But anyway, the clip that I thought he was pulling up was the one of him at the strongman event when he dislocates his knee. Because I've been looking for that for years because I wanted to actually watch that.
It's all over YouTube.
Dude, I never found it.
Yeah, for anybody who doesn't know, so Arnold, Franco actually competed in strongman at one point during his career. And he was fairly good at strongman, and he was doing the I believe he was carrying they were carrying refrigerators.
I don't know how much the refrigerator was.
I believe it was a refrigerator. It was a race, and he just kind of took off running and was gonna destroy the guy he was competing against. He was way ahead of him, and he totally just I guess he rolled his ankle or something, and his knee just came down right on top of his shin, and he just totally dislocated his leg or his knee, I should say. Really, really brutal and painful looking. And there's a whole interview with everything, and he's describing that the doctors told him they said it was broken, and he said he's a chiropractor and it's dislocated. He self-diagnosed himself.
Instantly. This was like instantly. But I know that's not the quote we're playing, but I thought they were connected, so that's my fault. But this is another good clip too, so play it.
All right.
I know Arnold since 1965, and we met on the stage in a competition. He won the bodybuilding junior Mr. Europe, and I won the European powerlifting championship. When I first came to the United States, we lived in Santa Monica, 3 blocks from the beach, and we used to live together. We had 2 bedrooms, a little apartment, and in the morning was like, he was the guy that 6:30, we got up like a military guy. Arnold was in the military. He knows all the disciplines. He gets up 6:30. Franco, get up, do the protein drink. And I'm going like this, putting the eggs in the protein drink. And then we will go there, drink the protein drink, get in the car and go to the gym. It was like a continuous routine for years and paid off later that we were the best of all times in bodybuilding with no question. When we first met, he talked about him winning Mr. Universe. And the minute he won Mr. Universe, he won in London in 1967. he says to me, now he's the Mr. Olympia. So he was like projected to say Mr. Olympia. And then when he competed and won Mr. Olympia, his goal was to win it many times, which he won it 7 times. And as he went toward the end of the Mr. Olympia, when he won the 6th time, which was in 1975, we made the movie Pumping Iron. And that is when he started intriguing, he says, I'm not going to compete forever. I'm going to go now in another career, which is acting career. At that time, he already made a little movie called Hercules in New York. It was very funny. And then Pumping Iron was like a documentary, and really, we were very known here to the general public. Bodybuilding became more generally known. And then after that, his mind was really on the career of acting.
I guess that's the end of the clip, but that was a cool clip, man. Every time I hear the story of them two and just like that era of bodybuilding, it motivates me so much. And like to hear that Arnold would get up every day at 6:30 and just be disciplined and just go every day for years and years. That's what led him to success. It's so true, and it reminds me of what I do, because every day is just the same thing, in day in and day out, day in and day out. And it's got to pay off doing that over time. A lot of people don't see that, and we were talking about this today actually. Everybody wishes to blow up overnight, and it just takes time and patience.
Yeah, and every time I hear something about how Arnold used to do things back in the day with his training, with his nutrition, and even his goal setting, it was really just a matter of deciding what it is he was going to do, and then just relentlessly did it day after day after day, until he got to where he wanted to go. And that's the results speak for themselves, and that's a recipe for success with anything, especially within fitness. A lot of times people will, with his formula, there's no questioning. It's okay, get up at 6 a.m., make the protein drink, as Franco would call it, and go to the gym. That was like the formula. It's 6 a.m., protein shake, gym. Do that every single day for years, and I want to win this show, and I want to win this show, and I want to win this show. So it's kind of like a very simplified version of setting goals. And I think a lot of people can take a lot away from that, because with nutrition, with dieting, with training, everyone's always stumbling over what the best way to do things, what's the best formula. You'll get questions all the time on, what do I need to do? Do I need to focus on this? It's really just focus on the stuff that matters and repeat it day after day after day. You'll get the results. It takes time. Stay in a caloric deficit over a period of 2 months, 3 months, 4 months. After 2, 3, or 4 months, you're going to be leaner. Same thing with anything else. Keep doing it over a long period of time. You'll reach your goals. Arnold had that from back in the 70s. And if you guys aren't doing that, I think you should take some notes.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things too, and I always tell people this all the time, is that you can't lose fat in one day. Just because you ate good today doesn't mean that you're going to be lean tomorrow. It takes time. It takes weeks. It takes months of being in a caloric deficit. It's not going to happen in 1 week. A lot of people think that, especially with normal people. I mean, I think bodybuilders are a little different when it comes to that. But, the average person who's into fitness and listening to this is, I want to start losing weight. I'm going to jump on a diet today. By the end of the week, they think they did so good. And then it comes the weekend, and there goes that.
Yeah, you have to set a goal, set a plan, and then execute it. Give yourself a few months.
F a plan, man.
Got to have a strategy. You got to have a formula. If I want to win this contest, I got to diet. Start your diet, repeat it day after day, and then reflect on it. Not after 1 day, not after 2 days. Give yourself a month, give yourself 2 months, give yourself time, but you have to do it every single day.
Yeah, I say F a plan, because plans I guess are meant to be broken. You can have the best, like Mike Tyson says. We talked about this so many times. Everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face, and I believe that solely. If you have a goal, just go work at your best every day to try to achieve that goal every day, and the chips will fall where they may. I mean, not to say that you should, if your goal is to be, ripped in 8 weeks, you shouldn't be doing things that are opposite of what you want to do. Obviously, if your goals are to get ripped, you're going to diet, you're going to do cardio, you're going to do that every day. You can't do something the opposite of what you're expecting. If your goal is to save money, you can't go out and buy a new jacket every day.
Right.
So you got to do things in line with your goal.
Exactly. And that could be your plan. Just do things in line with your goal.
Yeah. But I like that clip, man. It's always fun to hear those. That really was the best time in bodybuilding, I think. I mean, everything nowadays is just, like we were talking about this at the expo. No one cared.
No, it's unfortunate, but yeah, nobody cares. Yeah. Bodybuilding has changed so much since then, and that was when it was, I guess, its purest form and its most simple form, and it really was just about going to the gym, training, and dieting. just for the enjoyment of it, just for the art of it, just for the sport itself. Now it's taken on so many different things over the past couple of years.
Now
so
when
many
you go to the
different forms.
expo, the longest lines are for the YouTube people.
Yeah,
who don't even compete.
It's really
anything.
It's an expo of YouTubers and social media people, which is that's what it is now. It's 2017, so it's not really bodybuilding anymore. It's fitness.
Yep, good old fitness. All right, man. Let's move on to the trending fitness topic. So I got a topic for you today. Actually, one of our loyal listeners sent this to me, and I did some previous research as there was another article to it. But so I'm going to read both articles, and basically the gist of these articles is why soy is dangerous. So I read that this article basically has a couple of reasons why soy is dangerous, and it's split up into 2 articles. So I'll read these through to you. I mean, we've been saying this for so long, especially my co-host here. He's been screaming about soy for so long. I mean, you guys want to talk about paranoid? Like, I
don't even think we need to even explain the soy
but I have
debate
to
anymore.
reiterate how crazy you are because, so I'll eat soy. Not like I'll put some soy sauce on my food. Like I don't really look at the labels. If it has like a minimal amount of soy, I don't really go crazy. Every item that my co-host gets in his hand that has a nutrition fact on it, he doesn't look at it and say, "Oh, this looks good. I'll eat this." He turns it to the back. If there says anywhere on there that says soy, he'll put it down. I've never seen someone so against something ever. But I guess these reasons will say why he's right. I guess. But it's just so funny how paranoid you are with soy.
Well, I really don't consider it a paranoia thing. I just consider it, I don't put something into my body that doesn't function well in there. There's just no need to it. Why take something that your body's not going to utilize properly? And why take something...
Dude, what's your favorite food?
My favorite food? Burgers and fries.
So you've had burgers with soy in it, so don't say you would never.
No, I never said
I soybean oil.
Yeah, I've never said I would never have soy. I'm saying I'll never purposely put soy into my body, though. I'll never look at something that contains soy. Like, I'll never buy like a tub of protein powder that has soy protein in it and say, "Oh, I'll use it." If someone hands me a protein bar and says, "Oh, you want a protein bar?" and I look at it and it has soy protein in there, I'm not going to eat it just because simply I know when I eat this protein bar, it's going to destroy my stomach. It's going to make me feel bad. It's going to make me bloated. And it's just, why would I do that? I don't consider that. People look at that and they consider that to be like weird. But I just consider that to be, I'm not going to put something in my body that my body's going to reject. Understand,
some of the things that you look at, it's so minimal the amount of soy that's in there. It's almost, non-existent.
Listen, I like to think of myself as a highly functioning machine, and I like to keep that machine functioning at its highest level. So
you need to bring your machine in for some parts, man. There's definitely screws loose.
Well, we're talking about physical parts, not the not the mental parts.
All right. So reason number 1, according to this article, it contains phytic acid, which is a compound that depletes nutrients and wreaks havoc on mineral absorption. So most people already have poor digestion. Why make the situation worse? Reason number 2, soy contains oxalic acid. Oxalic also depletes nutrients by binding to calcium, magnesium, and iron, thus decreasing the absorption of these vital nutrients. Reason number 3, most likely comes from a GMO source. We really don't care about that. Reason number 4, it's a feminizing agent. Because of its phytoestrogen content, men in particular should avoid it unless droopy breasts, sexual dysfunction are on their goals. So that's out. Reason number 5, it disrupts the thyroid. The geotronic, I definitely brutal that, content of soy products interfere with thyroid function as it disrupts iodine absorption. I actually knew that. A drop in thyroid function can eventually lead to fat gain. Soy can create digestive issues, which we've talked about. Jump in, man, if you want to have anything to say as I keep going on this.
Yeah, I mean, so far I agree with everything you're saying, and I think a few things about soy kind of get misinterpreted, and kind of the same thing with eating a lot of fat in your diet. When we talked about before, people associate that with, okay, more fat.
Listen, before you go on your rant, let me finish the damn article.
Well, how about I just state what I want to state?
Yeah, but as long as it has anything to do with what I have to say, you can state your opinion.
I'm bringing it full circle. But all right, so the short answer is people blow everything out of proportion. Even with soy, they'll say don't eat soy because it raises estrogen in the body, stuff like that. I'm not even totally against it for that purpose, because the reality of it is there's going to be a ceiling to how much soy you consume and the amount of estrogen you're going to have in your body as well. You're not going to turn into an estrogen machine because you consume soy. But yes, that is one of the negatives of consuming too much soy, is it will raise estrogen in your body. Depending on you, that might be a good thing, but it might be a bad thing. So depending.
So reason number 7 that it could actually produce an attention deficit disorder because it contains a magnesium, and it says excessive amounts of magnesium is neurotoxic. So that's cool. Now on to the second article. Soy is one of the most sprayed crops in the world. Soy is one of the crops that gets sprayed the most with pesticides, rodenticides, and fungicides. I mean, we really don't care about that, but I kind of think if it's ironic because there's so many people out there that talk about pesticides, but these are the same people that will consume soy, so it's just it's funny.
And I was about to add to that too, that I find that extremely ironic too, because I've known about that forever, but every time you walk into a health food store and you get, gluten-free this or not, whatever, all these products that contain non-something or a healthy version. Trader Joe's is a good example. I shop there all the time. A lot of these healthy choices of whatever these foods are, if you look at the back, they're loaded with soy in them. So they're replacing it with soy, but they're worried about making it all natural, healthy for you, and then you're loading it with stuff that are sprayed with pesticides anyway. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and to me, sometimes I would rather eat the original one and not have. I mean, listen, we can go into the whole thing with the artificial sweeteners in a minute, but not that I'm not against artificial sweeteners, but with flexible dieting, there's no reason to have something that's has artificial sweeteners in it. Just fit it in. I mean, unless you're dieting. If you're dieting, then yes, Diet Coke and things like that, it's fine. Or if you just want to drink something and you don't want the carbs, you can have the Diet Coke. But so many people go ballistic over that, but I think it definitely has a fine line between them. So, like, for me, I'd rather just fit, like, whatever. Let's just say, I don't even know, whatever it would be. So I want to fit that in. I just fit it in. That's the beauty of flexible dieting.
Exactly.
All right, so let me continue. Soy can delay child development. Soy can affect development of the fetus and later in life increase the likelihood of prostate cancer in men, as well as have reproductive consequences. And the last one is soy's health effects are unclear. Soy isoflavones have at best a mixed record in science when it comes to health effects, and there is some evidence that dazzanine and gensentin, could do more harm than good, such as promoting estrogen-sensitive cancers. And that's the article.
Yeah, I agree with it, but then at the same time, too, just to defend soy, even though I hate soy, I'll still defend it just because you can make an article talking bad about, 100 reasons why.
Why don't you make up with soy, man? Well, I'll bring you over some soy sauce and we'll have some soy chips.
I'm kind of making it up. I'm defending soy. This is the first time I've ever done this before. But I could write the same article and say 100 reasons why you shouldn't drink water. Water can cause this, water can cause that, or anything for that matter.
Don't tell me that. I drink right from the tap.
Yeah, I'm using water as an example, but you could say with anything, 1,000 reasons why you shouldn't eat grilled chicken. I could definitely come up with some
listen,
that'll
how
scare
these
people.
articles are written, man.
Right. So, but what I'm trying to say is, even though I do agree with this article, and I do agree that there's no real benefit to consuming soy, so you may as well not consume it unless for some reason you enjoy it. But you can make that argument against anything, so don't look at this article.
Soy? What's a primary soy product? Soy milk? I don't know. Goes out of the way to have soy. What's it?
I don't know. Somebody who
aside
likes
from soy sauce, because that's
soy
obvious.
milk, soy sauce.
But soy milk has an alternative, almond milk.
Yeah, but some people might like the soy milk better. I don't know. Some people don't like almond milk. You get people that like soybeans. Edamame, which is delicious actually. I like edamame, but I don't regularly eat it. So there's foods out there that have soy in them that people will like, and like I said, a lot of times alternatives have soy in them. So if you don't want to eat a lot of times it's with vegan stuff, a lot of times with vegetarian options and stuff like that, you'll get all that in there. So sometimes people do like those foods. So it just happens to be something that they consume.
Well, so all right, man. So we got to get it on video of you drinking some soy milk. I'm pretty sure there's people that want to see that after hearing
I'm not drinking soy milk.
What do you think would happen if you had a little bit of soy milk? Like, what if I told you it was almond milk and I gave it to you, and then I was like, "Oh, Pete, sorry, that was soy milk."
I'd know it's soy milk because about 10 minutes later, I'd probably have diarrhea.
Not to be too graphic, man. You had to lead that right into the next segment too, no less. The muscle meal segment is in full effect. People have positive reviewed this section. They like it. They like to hear what we think about food and any type of recipe that we have that Makes it quick and easy. But today's recipe, this one I like. This is what I do in my house all the time. We do turkey meatballs in bulk. Now, this is pretty simple. Actually, what we do is we take the ground turkey, and then I take a shitload of it. So we usually get like 4 or 5 pounds of it, and put them all in one big bowl. We add in our accoutrement. So sometimes it'll be peppers and onions, cut up obviously. Sometimes I will use some breadcrumb and whole egg in there. I mix them all up, and I'll measure out. Literally what I'll do is I'll put some tinfoil over a pan. I'll put the oven on, probably about 350 to 400. Again, depends on your oven, depends how long you're cooking it for. I'll line the pan. I'll spray the pan with Pam. I will take each turkey meatball. I'll literally take them out, roll a ball, weigh it. I try to get them all the same size. So I try to make each turkey meatball 2 ounces. So I'll take it, I'll measure it, I'll put it on the scale. If it's 2 ounces, I'll roll it up into a ball, and I'll put it on top of the aluminum foil. I will continue that until I'm done with turkey meatballs. Then I'll put that in the oven for about 20 minutes. And then boom. And then what I just do is I keep that whole thing. I take all the turkey meatballs off there. I put them in a big Tupperware. And then I put them in the fridge. And this way, when I need food, I just grab, I need 4 ounces of chicken or turkey, whatever it is. I'll grab 2 turkey meatballs, and I know that that's what it is.
Yeah, I've done that before, and they come out delicious.
You can do it with everything. You can do it with meat. It doesn't have to necessarily be turkey, but that's just what I've
done it. I've done it with turkey as well. And if you want to keep it pretty lean, you do 99 lean turkey. You could substitute even the egg white, a whole egg with the egg white. Although it definitely comes out better with a yolk in the whole batter. So it doesn't turn out to be too much fat for each.
Look, if I'm using 4 to 5 pounds, I'll use like 1 or 2 eggs.
Yeah,
you barely even notice it.
So you may as well throw the whole yolk in there because it's gonna be minimal amount of fat for each turkey meatball. Yes. But so you can make them as lean as you want. You can make them as fatty as you want. You could use fattier meat. Like I said, you could use the yolk instead of the egg whites. But definitely, I would throw a yolk in there. It just comes out a little bit better. The right breadcrumb and the right amount of garlic powder is really gonna do that. In my opinion, it's really gonna bring out that flavor. But you can make them however you want. And I've had your meatballs. I'd have to say yours are a little bit better than mine because I feel like a little more work goes involved in those, and I have to give credit to your wife for that too because I'm very simple in everything I do when I cook, and I don't take the extra steps that
simple-minded, simple cooking.
I think she takes a few extra steps than me, and I cut a few corners. So my meatballs get the job done, and they're tasty, but she puts a little more time and effort into them, and I definitely think that it turns out well for the meatballs you guys make.
Yeah, but the reason why I like them so much is because it makes the week so convenient. Like I said, if I'm running, I could literally just grab a handful of balls and just eat them as I run out the door. Like literally, that's what I do sometimes. If I'm running to go get the baby from school, I'll literally run, grab 2 or 3 turkey meatballs, and at least I know that there's 4 to 6 ounces of meat. I don't have to reweigh it. I mean, if I really wanted to get particular, I really could put each one in the Tupperware and do the whole meal prep thing. But I don't like to do things that way because I usually like to have my carbs fresh.
Man, I think after this episode, I'm gonna go to Stop and Shop and pick up some turkey and then make some meatballs tonight. Man, I'm getting hungry.
Yeah, man, I love what I usually do. Sometimes I'll just make the pasta and then I'll throw the meatballs over and just throw the sauce over it.
Yeah,
it makes it so easy.
Me with meatballs, I always did this even growing up as a kid. My mom used to make. Obviously, it was ground beef meatballs. My mom never made. I've never had a turkey meatball until I was like in my 20s and made them myself, but. My mother used to always make meatballs.
When you made them yourself, were they actually round like a meatball is supposed to be, or were they like chunks?
They were probably like chunks. I could see them being chunks. They're probably like chunks, yeah. But even as a kid, my mom used to just make meatballs, like you said, just in bulk. I used to just eat the meatballs even cold right out of the refrigerator. I still do that today, whether it's ground beef, turkey. I love meatballs. You could eat them. I could eat them in any way. So if I have meatballs in bulk, I'll even just take them out of the fridge and just eat them.
Yeah, definitely makes it easy. Man, I remember doing that see, obviously the difference between when you're a kid and now is they were fried.
Oh yeah, and they tasted a lot better because it was fried. It was not lean ground beef. It was probably like 80 lean at best.
I know.
You got the nice fatty meat in there, plus the egg, plus everything else my mom used to put in there. It was good stuff. Macros were never a thought, and taste was number one priority, and she got 100 on that, on that rating.
Oh, I used to love my mom's chicken cutlets, man. I love chicken cutlets, like good Italian chicken cutlets.
Yeah. I literally grew up probably about 90% of my childhood. The foods I ate: chicken cutlets, and meatballs and spaghetti. That was probably 90. I'd have to say chicken cutlets and French fries, but the French fries much less than the chicken cutlets. But chicken cutlets, my mom, it used to be two things. What are we having tonight? Chicken cutlets or meatballs? It was one of those always.
Yeah, the pasta never did it for me as a kid. Even like when Sunday would come and we would have the meatballs with the pasta, I was like, I don't want this. I gotta have like 2 or 3 meatballs and be done. I used to be able to eat so many of them.
Yeah, I used to do meatballs and bread. Just dip my bread in the sauce with the meatballs. That was, and I'll still do that to this day. If I make meatballs, I don't necessarily need the pasta. I'll just have meatballs.
Yeah, with a good Italian bread, you dunk it in the sauce. Oh man, that's great.
All right, man. Can we end this podcast? Because I want to take a run to Stop and Shop right now.
No, actually, you know what's funny is that before I went for my blood work recently, I was on my testosterone diet, I guess you want to call it, and I was having tuna fish. Because it's right now is Lent and you can't have meat on Wednesdays and Fridays in the Catholic religion. So I had some tuna and I didn't want to put mayo. I was like, I don't want mayo. I had a lot of saturated fat today. Let me have some avocado in there instead. Mm-hmm. So I just cut up some carrots and celery, which I always do with tuna, which makes the taste so much better. I mean, I've done tuna with mustard before. It may sound weird mixing the tuna with mustard.
I've done that before too.
It's really good, actually.
I've done weirder stuff too. I've put barbecue sauce on tuna.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I've done barbecue sauce. You ever do the barbecue sauce with like shredded cheese and you melt it?
I've never done that.
Oh, dude, that's really good on tuna. So anyway. So I didn't feel like doing all that because I was like, I'm not really in the mood for that. Sometimes I'll do fat-free Italian dressing. They have that, or I'll do like a regular Italian dressing. Mm-hmm. Lately I've been doing sometimes I'll do like a salad dressing with it. So I'll use like a buffalo ranch. I have buffalo ranch. It's good. And it's a lot less fat than mayo. Because when you use mayo, you need like 3 servings of mayo. That's 30 grams of fat to make like a good real tuna.
Yeah.
So my testosterone diet called for more monounsaturated fats. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to mix this with avocado. Dude, it was actually really good.
I can see that being good. Yeah,
I didn't think it was going to be good. I was like, this is going to be terrible. It was good, man. It was really good. I was surprised at how good it was. I was like, wow, I really don't have to use mayo anymore.
The funny thing is, avocados by itself, I think, are disgusting. But when you add it with certain foods, you could replace almost anything with that. So you could replace mayo with avocado. You could replace cheese with avocado. You know, you could just throw avocado on top of something, and it's going to make it taste even better. So, you know, it's a complementary food in my opinion. And I don't think it's meant to be eaten by itself. Although I know people, I knew a kid in high school who actually would eat an avocado as like his lunch. Which I don't know how anybody does that.
Is that Johnny Juice?
His name was Johnny. I don't want to give too much more information about him. No, but I didn't go to school with Johnny Juice, so it wasn't him.
Yeah, I couldn't believe how good it was. I was really surprised at how good it was. I was like, wow, that's actually not bad. But actually, one other cool thing one of my clients told me, if you actually take avocado, cut it up, put it in a bowl, you could add Splenda to it, right? And a drop of like lemon juice and mix it. It becomes sweet. It becomes like a treat. It becomes like a dessert.
Yeah, you can use avocado to replace stuff in like baking. You know, you can make avocado-based brownies. I've never done that before.
Oh, that's disgusting. I don't know how good that would be.
No, but you can use it to replace whatever ingredients you're trying to cut out. So I guess it could be used for baking as well. I've never tried that before. I've seen some recipes that look good.
We totally debunked this. So you're better off using the butter in it because it's going to taste better and be a lot cheaper than if you were to use the avocado in your brownies instead. Again, with flexible dieting, as long as your overall fat intake is in check, you're good to go. And I have the blood work to prove it.
But I'll tell you what, when I'm done, my biceps are humongous. Humongous. Like that, bang!
My name is Anthony Bevilacqua, and I'm the host of New York Muscle Radio podcast. My arms have been a weak point for years. When I started training, my arms measured 11 inches. Even after many years of hardcore training, nothing would get them to grow. With the help of my co-host, Big E, we set out on a mission to gain 1 solid inch to my arms in 12 weeks.
In the greatest experiment of all.
12 weeks later, this program finally helped me get 18-inch arms. The 12-week arm experiment, the ultimate arm growth program, ebook, the audio book, and the workout video. Pick up your copy now on NewYorkMuscleRadio.com. All right, man. Let's move on to the listener question of the day. So, guys, if you have a question you'd like us to answer, you could submit it on our website, NewYorkMuscleRadio.com. Says listener question. or call in your questions. The called in questions jump the whole list of questions that I have. So you're call it in now, 508-687-2534. Again, that number is 508-687-2534. So I actually have two. So the first one is not a question, but just wanted to say thanks for the strong grips. I bought them last week and tried them out today. I went up 50 pounds in my deadlift and never once had to think about my grip. Love them, Charlie Steakley. That's a cool, man. That's really cool. We really don't talk about the strong grip so much on the podcast as much as we should. But that's our product that we have on New York Muscle Radio. And our grips are really designed, so much better than any other grip product out there. We use a really good quality rubber material so that you're able to hold on to the bar with more weight without it slipping. I've heard of other straps out there on the market that once they get your hands start sweating a little bit, they slip. So these are designed to not have any slip on them. So these, I think they came out really good, man. I'm proud of those.
Yeah, I've had nothing but good reviews about these, and not one person complained about any aspect of it at all. Usually there's one thing that people don't like particularly about a certain product, but I've heard nothing but good things from, the people that we've sold some to, and even the people that we actually gave a few samples out to. People have been hitting deadlift PRs with them. I use them, like I say, I use them every day when I train religiously, and they're the most comfortable straps I've ever used. And again, like you said, the material that we are using, it avoids any issue with the grip slipping because of sweat, because that's a big thing with grips, especially if you're not using the old school wrist straps where you're tying it around the bar. If you're using some type of flap or a grip device, which we use, if your hands start getting sweaty, there's a potential for it to slip. But the material we're using, it's literally impossible. I mean, I haven't experienced that once. And I've had some pretty grueling workouts where I'm dripping in sweat using these, and there's no letting up with it.
Yeah, that was an intense bicep session that you had when you were dripping in sweat.
Absolutely, man.
You are the only kid I know that will go through heavy squats and heavy deadlifts, and then when it comes time to curl, just pour sweat. It's the funniest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what happens. And a lot of it's, to be honest with you, I think a lot of it's the mental intensity that I put into the set. I tell this to everybody, and whatever, you think I'm joking, but I think anybody who does this can actually understand. I've had so many people over the years when I'm in the gym, when I'm curling, or when I'm doing anything, or when I'm doing biceps, they come up to me and they'll say, like, your arms are huge. What do you recommend I do? And I tell them, listen, the secret's really not with the specific workout routine or the specific method. There is a method that's better than just going in and training arms. There is a way to do it. But the key that I think separates my arm training from yours is not the magical sets and reps. It's I literally treat my arm training sessions and my bicep curls the way you should be treating a 500-pound squat when you approach it. I approach, whatever I'm curling. The other day I was curling the 80s. I approach curling the 80-pound dumbbells the way Anthony approaches 500 pounds on the squat bar. I'm just doing a different movement. But people look at a dumbbell curl and say, oh, it's a dumbbell curl. You don't look at it as if it's a 500-pound squat. So that's my tip for you guys today on biceps. Approach the dumbbell or the barbell as if it's a 500-pound squat bar, and treat it with respect the way you would a 500-pound squat bar. And watch
Pete grunts around
grow.
The gym, smacks himself in the head before he grabs a dumbbell, sits down, and just That's you, man.
Yeah, nah, that's not what I'm talking about. But you guys get my point. When you're lifting it, respect that weight and treat it like it's a heavy squat bar. And watch the intensity you put into it and how your muscles feel afterwards.
All right, let's move on to the actual question. So here's today's question. Guys, love what you are doing. The advice is always spot on. In the last couple of years with focusing on lifting heavy and hitting protein targets, I've gone from 161 to 185 while maintaining the same waist size. I'd love to cut unwanted fat, but my body is stubborn when it comes to that. Any advice on where to start? I'm 36 years old, 5'7". I get in about 185 to 200 grams of protein per day with total calories between 2,000 and 2,300 per day. Above 2,300, I seem to put on fat, but at 2,000, don't seem to lose much either. I would love to compete someday in the future, but have to get the diet figured out. Thanks, guys. Steve Madden. I love that fucking movie.
That is a great movie.
Steve.
You want to take this one, or you want me to go ahead?
What, are you tired?
No, I just figured you get upset when I go on my long rant, so I said I would give you a little more airtime here so I don't go
Pete,
off.
thank you very much, man. Let me tell you, you are a real gentleman.
You're welcome. You want to take this one, or you want me to go with it?
No, I'll take it.
All right.
So basically, there's a lot of things going on here. So he's took himself from 161 to 185 while maintaining the same waist size, but he wants to cut unwanted fat in his body. So it just seems like genetically, automatically, he doesn't really put on too much weight in his waist, just based on what he said. But he does gain fat, given he gained about 20 pounds, give or take. He gained about 20 pounds, so obviously not all of that was muscle. So he did put on some fat somewhere. So he's 36 years old, so that tells me his metabolism is a little slower than if he was 16 or 18. He's 5'7", gets in about 185 to 200 grams of protein a day. So that tells me with total calories between 2,000 and 2,300. So that tells me the majority of his calories are coming from protein. So he also says here, above 2,300, I seem to just put on fat. But at 2,000, I don't seem to lose much either. So basically what this is telling me is that his metabolism is not as fast as it should be. At that body weight, he should be able to pound down a lot more calories than what he is. So I would basically recommend Steve to actually begin reverse dieting. I would tell you, Steve, you're going to have to go through a period of time where you're going to actually have to put on some fat and kind of go through a quote-unquote bulk up period. You're going to have to go through a period of building up your metabolism, reverse dieting, maximizing your metabolism, and we talked about this so many times on the podcast, and get those calories up a lot higher than where they are now. You shouldn't be putting on fat at 2,300 calories. Again, everybody's body is different, and your metabolism is obviously a little slower due to your age, and that's just something that happens naturally, no offense. But what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to go through a little period of time where you're actually building up that metabolism, slowly adding in the calories over the course of time, weeks, months, in order to have a better base to start dieting off of. Then, I would say get your calories around 1,000 calories higher than that, which is not that much. It shouldn't take you that long to get there, but 1,000 calories higher, and then begin to diet down from that point.
Yeah, the key is right now, you're putting on fat at 2,300 calories, but that doesn't mean that has to be that way forever. So your goal is to get it so that you could bring your calories higher where you'll put on fat at 3,300 calories or whatever the number might be, but it's a lot higher than where it is now. And the only way to do that, like Anthony said, is through a slow reverse diet where you increase those calories and putting on muscle. Those two things are really going to help you. So in a couple months, if you have more muscle in your frame, your calories are higher, your metabolic rate's going to go up. You can eat more calories and not get fat. So your goal is get those calories as high as possible. And from there, bulking and cutting and maintaining will be easier because it'll be at a much higher level than where it is now.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. So I would spend some time, take some time, build up the metabolism. I know you said you want to lose some unwanted body fat, but if you were to go in a cut, you'd only have to drop your calories down a lot lower than where they are now. And, for a guy your age, your weight, you shouldn't be down lower than 2,000 calories a day. I think that's too low.
I agree.
I mean, it's hard to tell, too, how heavy he is, but at 185, how fat could you possibly be?
I don't know. I mean, you know what? And I'm not to accuse him of anything, but some people their own perception of themselves is not really an accurate judgment. He might think he's fat, but he might just not have ripped abs. He might think that he doesn't have a lot of muscle, but he just doesn't look like a bodybuilder. You know what I mean? So without an accurate picture, scale weight, and an exact diet that you're following, it's hard for us to give you an exact answer. But based on the feedback you're giving us, that I do agree that is the best solution. But it really depends on what your body composition is like right now. So we have kind of a vague idea of what it is. If we had a more accurate, maybe our answer would change. But I still would stand by what we said based on the information we have.
Yeah, I agree. This is kind of what we do when we coach someone, actually, when we get their inquiry. This is kind of what we go through. We kind of run through the scenario, check out their pictures and everything, and kind of put down the plan for them. And kind of similar to what we just did. So, Steve, thanks for your question. I hope we answered it. And sorry if we didn't tell you, just eat 2,000 calories a day and just burn fat. But that's not what we would recommend because we actually want things to work.
Damn.
Nice, Pete.
What?
I saw you checking out that girl's butt.
What? I was just checking out her yoga pants.
Pete.
I was thinking you'd look really good in yoga pants.
Uh-huh.
I was trying to check out what brand it was. I was looking at her form on deadlifts. They were all messed up.
Do you think she has a nicer butt than me?
Well, it definitely doesn't look like a pancake.
Did you just call my butt a pancake?
Well, I mean...
What can I do?
You gotta try New York Muscle Radio's Glutylicious program.
Glutylicious?
Yeah, you'll finally get a celebrity booty, like all the other girls following the program.
fine, I'll do it. But don't get jealous when other guys check out my glutealicious ass.
Glutealicious, your guide to getting a celebrity booty in 12 weeks. Now available exclusively at NYMRmuscleradio.com.
All right, man. Look, we should talk about the Arnold. We didn't even like really talk about it. Let's talk about this weekend, and I guess we'll start off with the Arnold Weekend. Who won the Arnold Classic? We should actually report that, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
Even though no one gives a fuck.
It's funny, it's sad, but true. Yeah, so Cedric McMillan won this year, and I think that's been the trend with the Arnold, especially with the I guess the complaint that Arnold actually had about where bodybuilding was going, because he, of course, still favors the more classic look in bodybuilding, and he said that bodybuilding has gotten out of hand over the years, and I agree with him. I know a lot of people agree with him, but the sport has just evolved so far where now the era that he once was famous for doesn't even reflect what bodybuilding is today, which is crazy because I feel like that era just should represent bodybuilding to the fullest.
Yeah, even to this day, I honestly would say the same.
I don't think, honestly, this is my opinion, if they never progressed past Arnold's look, I still think bodybuilding today would be just as exciting as it can be. Myself personally, I mean, people love to see freaks. And yeah, who doesn't, for entertainment purposes, want to see a crazy freak show every once in a while? But I think the sport of bodybuilding and something to look up to and something that you might aspire to be one day would be much greater if people on stage looked like Arnold today. That's my opinion.
It's funny. We went out in Ohio. We went to in Bumfuck, Ohio, man. We went out in Ohio and we went to some bar. I don't even know what it was. We went after the expo. We went out for Saturday night, and we happened to run into Roelly Winklaar.
Yes, that was actually funny. Yes,
with clothes on, and there was no girls around him.
No,
he wasn't getting any girls. He wasn't like no one even looked. Everyone looked at him like, whoa, he's big, and that was it. Like, and kind of some people looked at him like, wow, he's big, like almost like with disgust, especially like some women. Then you have like that one woman who's really, really attracted to that, and if you are that woman, there's nothing wrong with that. But that like there's a lot of people in there were like, especially the girls. It wasn't like he walked in and women were dropping their panties. That wasn't really happening. Well, only when Pete Kacharian walked in was that's when it happened.
No, it's funny because I was telling you that.
The Bullhawk walked in.
Yeah, I was telling you that though. There, it's funny because bodybuilders, I guess depending on the bodybuilder, some people know this, some don't, but a lot of guys assume, if I look like that, he must get a lot of women or whatever. Women love that, but the fact of the matter is, majority of women, especially if they're not into fitness, they're not into that.
All right, man. Would you have some soy today?
I'm burping up whatever it is that I ate, but it wasn't soy. But that type of look is pretty much, there's a certain subgroup of women that love that, and when I say they love that, like that's like the epitome of what a man should look like. So if one of those women happened to be in there, Roelly Winklaar just had to be sitting at the bar, and he would have walked out with a nice, female for that night. But yeah, the average person looks at that and they don't necessarily. I'm not taking anything away from it. I still think it's impressive, but the average person looking at that, it's not really their cup of tea. And I think that's why bodybuilding itself, from the competitive standpoint, the Olympia level competitor bodybuilders, the Arnold Classic competitive level bodybuilders, are not. They're not that they're not respected, but they're not looked upon as highly as other professional athletes to the general public. You know what I mean? Because it just to them, it's just a freak show. It's nothing like magnificent. Whereas actually it's funny because in other countries it's the opposite. In the States, people don't look at Kai Green and they don't look at him like he's somebody like great. They just look at him as a pro bodybuilder, which is unfortunate because he puts in a lot of hard work to what he wants to do. But if he goes and travels to different countries out there, they look at him and he's like a superhero. So it's funny. It's a lot of it is cultural as well.
One of the things that I also noticed too with this weekend at the Arnold, there was a lot more women at the expo. Yeah. And there's usually women at the expo, but there was a lot more. Is average the wrong word?
Yeah, no. The more of the general population.
Yeah, especially in the women's area. I mean, obviously a lot of the guys that came obviously look like they work out, but there's a lot of not the women didn't look like that either. But you guys get what I mean. Like there was a lot more women. The average woman at the expo that I've ever seen before in all the years I've been going. I've been going since 2007, and this was the first year that I actually saw a lot of, normal women going in there. And I think that's such a good thing. And I'm happy to see that because it's actually finally women are actually learning that you can lift weights in order to get leaner, and you should lift weights, and you have to work out like a guy. And it's actually funny. Remember the lady at the booth? We had a lady at the booth, and we told her we had a podcast because we had on our New York Muscle Radio gear. And we told her we have a women's podcast. And she was working behind the booth, and we told her the name Bikini and Barbells. And she got offended by the name.
Right. Yeah, and her rationale was she wasn't really for the feminization of the sport. And she would be an example of actually the female audience or female group that would normally frequent the Arnold Classic over the last few years previously, because like you said, years ago, the only people that really went to the expos, the Arnold Classic, the Olympia, those were hardcore bodybuilding fans. It was mostly guys. They were mostly meatheads. They looked up to the big freaky bodybuilders, or even if it was younger guys, teens, even myself, I used to go. But I aspired to build as much muscle as possible. I wasn't really looking at it from a fitness standpoint or an aesthetic standpoint. It was just purely muscle-based. And so the women at that time, too, would also be more bodybuilders. They weren't like the Paige Hathaways,
true.
the Katie Hearns and stuff like that, where now today 99% of the women you're going to see walking around that expo are into that. They want to see Paige Hathaway. They want to see Katie Hearn. They just want to look good. They want to go look like they go to the gym and they're in great shape. They're not into it for bodybuilding. They're into it just to look good. And that's where the sport has changed. And I think I think in that regard, it's a good thing because the general population is learning that what bodybuilders do is not going to necessarily make you look like a freak or a bodybuilder on stage. That's taking it way beyond just the basics. And if you apply the basics and you want to look good, you're going to have a good recipe to look good.
Yeah, in 2007, when the first time I went, I have pictures of this too. Every woman that I took a picture with had bigger muscles than me.
Yeah.
The first year. It was like I took half the pictures that I have of females had bigger muscles than me, and they were working behind the booth. And the first year I went, I took pictures with everybody. And then the other girls were just regular girls that didn't even work out, that were just hot. That the companies hired just to push the product. So literally it was half and half. Now it's less of the woman that looks like a bodybuilder and
very
more
few,
of the ladder, and it's a good thing to see. And Paige Hathaway, I must say, I've never seen her in person. She really is hot, man. I didn't think she was that hot.
Yeah,
some of the pictures she doesn't look that hot, but in person she was hot. She was really, really good looking.
She's one of those where I think the credit is definitely deserved as far as her following being based. Her following is based on her looks, obviously. She's not putting out any type of revolutionary information or anything like that. But whatever it is, if it's motivational, if it's inspirational, or whatever it is, she's built up some good credit for herself, and I think it's well deserved.
Yeah, rightfully so. Man, well, let's talk about the car ride. The car ride in. So we made the mistake of actually driving this year, and we've done before in the past. But it's a 9 to 10 hour drive from New York, and man, that wasn't fun. That was horrible. I probably won't be driving ever again. It was just a long trip. And, one of the things is, too, it doesn't matter how many guys. We had 5 guys, so we all split the driving amongst all of us. But even still, it's like, when you're at that point, you've been driving for 4 hours already, and the GPS says you have 300 miles left. It's like, fuck.
Yeah,
I'm done.
It's a long time to be standing or sitting in one position, and it's not really comfortable, and it is what it is. You can't really complain about it. You're either going to take a 9-hour drive or you're going to fly. But if you do go the 9-hour ride, you gotta spend some time, do some productive stuff if you can. Unlike us, which we didn't even bring an auxiliary cable.
Yeah, we literally had no music the whole way there. We had a little bit of music in New York and then lost signal, and that was it. This stupid car we rented had no Bluetooth. We literally, it was actually, you know what? It was kind of cool because we actually laughed and talked the whole car ride. We literally we didn't really sleep the whole car ride, all of us.
No, not really.
Like a little, maybe I want to say total the whole trip. So maybe the whole trip in the car ride was 18 hours, let's just say. Maybe everyone slept a total of an hour the whole trip.
Yeah. And, I prepared some food for the way there, which I wish I could have done it for the way back, but I didn't prepare that well enough for that. So I actually had 3 full meals packed with me for the car ride. So I was pretty comfortable. Just sitting there eating, driving, eating, whatever it is, anytime I switched off. And, that made the trip a lot smoother for me. Nobody else in the car had done that. So everyone was, I guess, a little more hungry, a little more agitated.
Every hour when Pete would pull out a Tupperware, all we would smell would be Pete's food. And everyone else was starving. And we didn't want to stop because we didn't want to waste time. And that's how we got you back, man. What did we do to you?
Oh well, yeah, of course. That's what these guys do, because anytime they have a chance to get back at me, they'll take it. They'll jump on it. That's for sure. So I was eating all my meals. I was drinking my water, and I guess I have to urinate more frequently than everybody else in the van, or the guys that we travel with, or I just happen to have drank more water. But I probably needed to stop at least 4 or 5 times on the way there, and these guys just wouldn't do it. Just because they thought it was funny, so yeah, I had to go a little while holding it in, but luckily I made it. That's I guess that's the most I could say about that.
Oh, that was so funny, dude. You're like, I really gotta go, man. Pull over here. And we just passed the exit with the restrooms, and the next one wasn't for like 10 miles.
I'm convinced, just based on the fact of how far you guys could go without having to stop, that you're either not normal, or you're just not drinking enough water. I don't know.
Dude, we weren't drinking enough water. I didn't want to stop. None of us wanted to stop. When you have a 600-mile car trip, you don't want to stop every 5 minutes to go to the bathroom. And the funny thing was, you were eating, so you were probably drinking more than all of us because you were eating.
Yeah, I'm sure I was drinking more.
And of course you were eating. Of course you were eating, rock hard turkey because it was probably the leanest ground you found. So you were drinking more.
I'm sure it was the case. I wasn't drinking any more than I normally would in a day, but I'm sure you guys weren't drinking much. That's why.
But surprisingly, though, I thought I was going to be super, super tight from sitting in the car the whole time. And actually, it wasn't too bad. Like, it was a little tight.
Yeah.
But I was pretty strong all weekend. I worked out, and I came back today, too, worked out today, and I was pretty strong, too. I didn't really feel too beat up from the car ride. So I did have to, Saturday, my hips were killing me. So I did have to do a couple of stretches for a while and loosen up. But then I felt fine after that. But I really thought that the car ride was going to wreck me as far as that goes.
Yeah, and we even made it to the gym Thursday night when we got there. So we left Thursday morning. We got to the hotel around, what time was it? Around 6, 7?
No, later. Wasn't it like around 8? No, maybe you're right.
6 or 7. I think we made it to the gym around 8 o'clock.
No, it was later. We made it to the gym around 9.
Okay, so we probably still got there around. Probably got there around
remember
7.
We got to the gym at like 10 o'clock, man. Because remember, we had like an hour to train.
Yes, you're right. We got to the gym at 10 o'clock. Yeah, so we probably got into the hotel about 8 or 9. Got to the room, checked in, and went to the gym at 10 o'clock. Got a workout in right after being in the car all day. So we stayed on top of everything.
Helped. That probably helped too, man. Now that I think about it.
Yeah, I mean, you just got to stay on your schedule. You gotta keep everything as consistent as you can despite traveling. So there's no reason. People like to skip stuff because they're traveling. They like to alter things too much. If you're gonna get your training in, then you gotta do it.
Yeah. So following up on the last podcast, when we talked about eating out, let's talk about what we kind of did. Because I want to talk about that because I think it's really, really important. To basically go based on what we did last time. So what do we do food wise? How do we do this the whole trip?
Yeah. Well, like I said, for me, I packed 3 meals on the car ride there, so I didn't have to wing anything in the car ride. So that made that easier for me. I know you had to wing it a little bit more, but I guess we planned out our trip so that we would actually, though this was the plan and it didn't work out this way, but the plan really was to have food so that we could cook, because we got a hotel with a suite where we did have an oven. We could cook everything. We had a full kitchen. The plan was to buy our food, eat 1 or 2 meals in the day, have shakes, whatever we need, and then pretty much just go out to dinner each night. And if we wanted to do lunch and dinner, we could do that as well. But instead of eating every meal out, because that's the problem everybody runs into when they can't stick to their macros that way, just because it makes it so much more difficult when traveling. We like to try to avoid that as much as possible, but we still want to get it in. So that was the goal, but based on the time we got there and how the weekend got so busy, we never even got around to do the shopping. So we pretty much, the winging part was, making sure we had our protein in with protein powder, and I was using a lot of cereal. Every morning I was getting up, I was doing my protein powder and mixing it with a carb source like cereal, and then go to the gym, train, and come back to the room, protein shake, cereal, go about the day, then have lunch wherever we went out to lunch. I think the first day, or the second day, where did we go out to lunch the second day?
A Mongolian Grill.
Yes, Mongolian Grill, which is probably one of my favorite restaurants in Columbus, Ohio. For anybody who hasn't been there, definitely check it out. So Mongolian Grill is basically, it's all you can eat, meat, fish, etc., whatever else comes with it. You have as much food as you want, and you're very easy to hit your macros if you have a lot to work with. So we did that, That added up for a lot of calories. And then we went out to dinner. And, that was an easy way to do it. So basically, we followed up the strategy with eating lunch and dinner out. And the rest of the day, we filled in the rest of the macros, protein powders, snacks and stuff that we needed just to fit in the macros for the day. It's not ideal, but it worked, The funny thing is me and Anthony, we came back and we weighed ourselves. We were like exactly the same weight before we left for the weekend. And I thought
it was definitely going to be way more.
Yeah, and I'd say we tracked very, very loosely over the weekend, probably more loosely than I've ever done while traveling. And again, we came back I looked at my weight before I left, and it was actually like almost to the exact half pound, like dead on. I didn't my weight didn't even change. I think I was like 185.4, came back 185.4. It was like almost identical.
Yeah. The other thing too, we didn't make sure we didn't miss any workouts. And I got to shout out the people that came up that met us, during the Arnold, Brad, Rebecca, Tony, you guys for coming to work out with us. That was really cool to meet some New York Muscle Radio family and train with you guys and, go over form and different types of things. It was just fun to get away with you guys, and I'm so glad that we were able to do that. So shout out to them. But we also made sure that we trained the whole weekend too. We didn't take any time off, like you said. Thursday, after the whole car ride, we went straight to the gym, worked out. We didn't miss a beat. My training is right back where I was. I didn't miss one beat. The only thing that changed was the atmosphere. It was the same training. The only thing that changed was the scenery.
Yeah, and like I said this before we left too. I always enjoy, actually. You're going to be out of your element when you train at a different gym, when you're in a different state, different location, whatever it is. You're always going to be out of your element, so sometimes there's variations of things that might throw you off. But I always actually enjoy that little bit of change just because it makes things a little more interesting, at least for me.
Yeah.
I know Anthony's a real creature of habit, so for him that might have been, a little more difficult. Maybe he didn't like.
Yeah, that didn't throw me off.
No.
I like going to another gym.
Yeah, I enjoy that, actually. I actually had a lot of fun training in that gym on what was it, Saturday morning.
We actually went to Beyond Limits Gym, which is famous in Columbus, Ohio, and I didn't like it, man.
I actually was a little disappointed only because from what I've heard about it and what I've seen, it looks like a very big gym, and it's not as large as I thought it was. It's probably about the same size as an average gym, maybe even probably a lot smaller than the average gym.
Yeah, when we walked in, I was like, oh, boy, this is a mistake. After we paid and we kind of walked in and saw the whole place, I'm like, oh, man, this is going to be a mistake because I knew it was going to be packed.
Right, but I have to say the atmosphere is good. It's got a hardcore vibe to it. It definitely has a lifting vibe in it. It's not a typical gym. It's definitely for weightlifters. It's definitely for powerlifters. It's definitely for bodybuilders. You're not going to find the average woman in there who just wants to go run on the treadmill. But yeah, I had fun doing that. We trained in there. I trained a push workout on Thursday, a pull workout on Friday, and Saturdays was my favorite day, just straight arms. So I had a lot of fun on Saturday. Pretty much, had run of the place Saturday morning and just had fun there. It's like for me when I go to a new gym that I haven't been in, it's kind of like a playground. So it's like, all right, let's use this piece of equipment. Let's do this. Let's try this out. Let's change this up. And I just enjoy the experience. So I had fun. It was definitely enjoyable.
Yeah, one of the cool things about the gym was that actually they were streaming the USAPL event. So Saturday morning when we were there, I happened to catch Roelly Winklaar, who we had on the podcast earlier. We had her. I watched her lift. It was actually pretty cool to be able to be in the gym and actually do that. So I thought that was cool. What does the dog got over there, man? I see her fiddling.
She has her toy snowman.
Oh, okay. I thought it was like your sock or something.
No, my dog's always causing trouble.
I want to shout out all the people that came up to us that we got pictures with. We posted them up on New York Muscle Radio's Instagram and New York Muscle Radio's Facebook page. We actually made an album, and we can't believe the amount of feedback that we've gotten from everybody that we met. It was insane to actually meet all those fans and have people come up to us. And, we met so many people that we didn't even take pictures of, which we regretted after the fact. But I just so blown away. I mean, one of the highlight of the weekend for me was meeting a younger kid and his dad telling us that, he looks up to you guys. He's learned so much from you guys. And just to know that we've made an impact on that kid's lifting career, his career in fitness, really kind of blew my mind and said, this is why we do this.
Yeah, honestly, we had a whole range of different people that knew us, knew the podcast, and that came up to us and said hello and took pictures with us. And it ranges from, like you said, younger kids up to guys that are older than us who just, want to get in shape. But the young generation, when they, that was, like you said, it was great to see the younger generation come up to us and talk to us and tell us how they really love the podcast. They love the information we put out there, and how it's helped them. Because when I look at that, I look at myself when I was that age. Because when I got into this, I was 14 years old, looking up to guys that were probably like my age now, who really had this stuff figured out, that were really successful, and they made a career out of this, and they made a lifestyle out of this. And I'm looking at myself when I see these kids, and I'm like, wow, if I was able to do the same thing for them, then I know they're going to go somewhere and use this one day, and I'm glad that I was a part of it, and I was glad that I was able to help them. So I know that the information I'm putting out there is going to good use, and I hope that these kids take it and run with it, and they do their own thing.
Yeah, and shout out to the people who came up to us and asked for supplements and straps and all that stuff. We felt like a real, I don't know, I was a real hustler, I feel like, because had all of our stuff in my book bag, and if anybody wanted it, I pulled out the book bag and they took it, and we but I felt like such like a drug dealer, like, oh, here's the stuff, man, here's the stuff, here's these straps.
Well,
Listen, you can't get these straps anywhere in this expo right here. These are the best straps ever.
We did have the best straps.
We definitely
in the
hustled.
expo.
Well, we definitely did, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I almost wanted to take a pair of our straps and throw them at the VersaGrip booth.
Oh, yeah, that would have been funny, actually. Yeah, they're selling them for $50 or $70 or whatever VersaGrips cost.
Yeah,
but if you guys were lucky enough to come up to us, you actually got a pair for free that's going to outwork the VersaGrips.
What's up, New York Muscle Radio listeners? It's your co-host, Big Pete Kacharian, and I'm glad you're all listening. Put down that tilapia and asparagus. Learn how to get bigger, stronger, and leaner eating what you want. Pick up a copy of Cracking the Flexible Dieting Code exclusively at NewYorkMuscleRadio.com. But for now, let's get to the show.
Hey, great coffee.
Doesn't it taste good as fresh perk?
Better.
Better than those girls make at the office?
Honey, their coffee can't hold a candle to yours.
Caffeine, the world's only instant coffee that's fortified with muscle-building protein. Visit buyproteincoffee.com now.
Yeah, also, it was actually cool that we got a chance to meet up with Scott and VJ from Bodybuilding Nerds Radio. That was pretty cool, actually, to finally meet them. We've had them on the podcast a few times now. And
yeah, but we've yet to be on their podcast.
That is true, and we've been talking about making that happen. Hopefully, that'll be in the near future for us, I think. But I think we'll do some type of collaboration. We just got to come up with a good topic to go on with them. But it was cool meeting them.
Yeah, we've been saying that for so long already. They just got to get us on. I think that all that junk food that they ate all weekend at the Arnold has just gotten to their heads, and they can't think clearly enough to think of an episode for us to come on their podcast. But yeah, those guys are great guys, man. It was really nice meeting them in person, and they're even nicer in person than they sound on the podcast. They don't sound like typical Detroit guys. I kept my wallet nice and close to me when I was talking to them because they're from Detroit, but we held our own with them, I think.
Yeah, no, really, really cool guys, really nice guys, and just a few other people that are really genuinely passionate about the sport, and it's always cool to meet like-minded people. So it was cool meeting them after, like I said, speaking to them on the podcast for so long. It was nice to actually meet with them in person.
Yeah, so it was cool. Again, I think next year, man, we should really work and put it in our mind and make the goal to have a booth there. I think that would be an easier way to have everyone come to us, meet everyone, and just get the New York Muscle Radio word out there. So look out for that next year. Possibly getting a booth next year.
Yeah, I think it should be a good. I think it would be a good idea to do a booth next year.
100%. All right, and the last and final thing I want to touch on is actually the reason why we did the quote of the day today was we met Franco Columbo. That was probably, aside from meeting all of our fans and training and hanging out with you and sleeping next to you in the bed every night, big guy. One of the highlights in the weekend for me was meeting Franco Columbo. Franco Columbo is someone, like we said, trained with Arnold, one of the best in the world, and someone I would want to look like, except minus being so short. But it was great meeting him, and I actually had to have a conversation with him. He asked me about the podcast. I told him about it, and he goes, "That's very smart." And I actually have a picture of that, so I posted that. I was able to post that up and get a picture of that, and it was just a cool, It was definitely a highlight of the meeting. But again, going back to what we said earlier, the way fitness has evolved, there was a line, at least 5 booths long to meet Rich Piana, wrapped around, 5-6 booths down. And there was 3 people ahead of us to meet Franco Columbo. I mean, Franco Columbo was the best in the world competed in the Olympia contest, won. Mr. Strongman was just an incredible guy. And Rich Piana gives steroid advice, and there's a line around the door. So that kind of blows my mind a little bit. But neither here nor there. Franco Columbo, got to meet him, and that was definitely that had to be the highlight. Him telling me I was smart definitely made my day. Aside from sleeping next to you, of course, man. And cuddling with you at night.
Franco's a very genuinely nice guy. Just a guy you could tell loves the sport, loves giving back, loves being around fans, loves meeting people, and just enjoys everything about bodybuilding, even still to this day. I never actually had the chance to meet Arnold. I know you did, but Pumping Iron was such an influential movie for me growing up. I looked up to these guys, and to meet them in person, when you meet them, you always hope that they represent what you thought they did when you watched them in movies, and that's not always the case when you meet celebrities, So I met Lou Ferrigno one year, and anybody who knows my story with Lou Ferrigno, I said that it was a real disappointment because I loved Pumping Iron, and Lou Ferrigno was awesome in Pumping Iron. He was Lou Ferrigno, and then to meet him and not really have him represent what I thought he would was really disappointing. And then when you meet somebody like Franco, where you're like, wow, the Franco that I saw on screen is really the Franco in real life, even to this day. The Pumping Iron was in the 70s. It's 2017 now, and he's still the same guy, still loves training, has all this enthusiasm for bodybuilding, has enthusiasm for people who love the sport, and just a genuinely nice guy. It was really cool to meet him, and he lived up to his the standard I had for him. So it was really cool.
Yeah, if I could go back to when I met Arnold, I think honestly, comparing the two, I think I had a better time, even though Arnold's like my idol and I want to look like Arnold and whatnot. I think meeting Franco was definitely a better highlight than meeting Arnold, be honest.
Yeah, it's funny too, because you told him, you said me and him talking about me. When you said to Franco, you said me and him talk about you all the time. And you were making jokes about it. And he's just like, in his head, he's probably like, yeah, he talks about Arnold and Franco, but like we literally quote movies we quote lines from the movie all the time. I don't think he realizes half the stuff we say about him, if he even remembers the stuff that he said, but we could say it word for word. It's kind of funny, when somebody has that big of an impact on you.
Yeah. And I don't know, like I said, meeting Franco, the only one other person I met at the expo, not this year, just like a famous person, that kind of always will stand out to me was Jack LaLanne. I met Jack LaLanne, and one of the first things he ever told me was, what are your grades in school? Like, he cared about my grades in school. Like, what person in fitness ever asked you about your grades in school? And just like, he gave me really good advice at the time. And I have a picture of him. He's up in my gym, an autographed picture, and the picture I took with him, I hung it up in my gym. And I'll never forget that. And this is by far one of those meetings that I never will forget. Like, the Arnold one was obviously very memorable because it was Arnold, but those two, Franco and Jack LaLanne, will always stand out in my mind.
Yeah, man, bodybuilding needs more just people who care in this industry, because unfortunately it is filled with a lot of people.
I'd like to think that New York Muscle Radio cares. I mean, listen, I got my fucking blood work done to debunk a myth. Well, not many fucking guys do that.
That's why we do what we do, but the industry definitely could use more of that for sure.
Yeah, well, New York Muscle Radio will give you your daily dose of that, baby. All right, man. I think it's time we shut the fuck up and keep moving. Go ahead.
All right, guys. Pete and Anthony, New York Muscle Radio, and we're out.
Enjoyed this episode of New York Muscle Radio? Make sure to hit that subscribe button, leave us a 5-star review, and be sure to follow us on Facebook, New York Muscle Radio.